Okay, so we're up to chapter 227. So to sum up yesterday's discussion, so the Rabbi Rashab, in continuing the analysis of the pasuk where Avicha Asisa Pella Asisa Pella Kisuva Levusha from the Zohar, that we're talking about elevating all the spheres up to Keser. That's how the Rabbi Rashab interprets it, and then bringing down from Keser into Chachma, Mutza. So he's talking about Pella and Aleph. So Pella and Aleph are the same letters. So Pella is how Chachma goes up into Keser. Pella is the wonder of it all. And Aleph is Lashon Limud, how it comes down, and as Megala as reveals it. So he's explained how Pella itself becomes Aleph. The way he explained it is that that through the halamas v'asterim, the concealments and the cover-ups of Golus, and our withstanding all the challenges, and we stand strong, we reveal the Pella into Aleph. We reveal the Helam Ha'atzmi, the source of all these concealments. We reveal it into this world. And the way he explained it was similar to how Matan Torah came after Yetzias Mitzrayim, Golus Mitzrayim. Same thing, Mashiach will come after this Golus, but even greater. Because Matan Torah, they only heard, they only were able to perceive Elikus in the level of hearing, whereas when Mashiach comes, the pasuk Ayin Beis will see with our eyes. And to explain that, he got into a whole extensive discussion of the neshama, that the neshama, as opposed to other entities, creatures, including malachim, is elikus, and therefore comes from the primis hakelim and primis ha'er, atzmis ha'er. Therefore, it perceives elikus in a riyas muchus mamash, whereas the others don't. Similar to, that's why neshamas are in Gan Eden, because Gan Eden, as opposed to the worlds outside of Gan Eden, the space outside of Gan Eden, is that Gan Eden comes from the Gimel Rishenus, Chachma Bina Das, and the other, and the world outside of it, existence comes from Zayin Tachtenus, the lower midas, the Mini Chesed through Malchus. And then he went on to explain how the process works, that the neshama comes down Lamata into a body, into a material world, not for itself, because it itself is Elikus. It comes down to refine the body and the Nefesh HaBamis. Rabbi Rashab went into an elaborate explanation of how the neshama explains and teaches, educates. As the words he uses, that the purpose of the neshama is to teach. I'm just looking at the actual language. To show the guf and Nefesh HaBamis the revelation of Ein Sof. So how does it do it? It does it by using the mind, contemplation. It explains to the Nefesh HaBamis, and Nefesh HaBamis can understand it on these terms, that this world cannot have created itself, that everything in the material has to have some inner spiritual energy that gives it life. That means that Yesh is not a Metzias of its own, it has the Ayin that gives it sustenance. The Ayin therefore is the Ikar, and the Yesh is the Tafel. The Ayin is the primary and the Yesh is the secondary. It also explains how this world is all weak and a constant, an eroding world, a world that doesn't have any substance of its own. Everything erodes. I've said this, as he put it. And all this is something that the Nefesh HaBamis can relate to. And relate to the point that it's almost as if it actually sees Elikus, not sees it literally, like the Neshama sees it, but sees it through its own eyes, because it sees it on the terms of the Nefesh HaBamis. And then he goes on to explain how everything in this world is a mashal for Elikus. And when you show the Nefesh HaBamis how everything is a mashal, so the pasuk, "B'sari echza l'kav," for my flesh shall behold God. Actually, flesh goes on the Nefesh HaBamis, and behold means not just to hear or to understand, it means actually to perceive, to see. But it's echza, targum, because it's not actual sight in the direct sense of it, the Nefesh Habahamis cannot see the Ayin Eliki, cannot see the divine energy, but it can relate to it as if it's almost as if it sees it. Hisamtus, that is so true as if you're seeing. Because when you look at the tangible world and you relate to it, how it's a moshel, and it's really a moshel for the nimshel, which means everything here is really just an outer layer for a deeper source, godliness. So it almost as if it sees it. And in return, the neshama then in this body can experience what it experiences, which is actually seeing the Riyas HaMalchus Mamish. And then he goes on to find that's Ata Haresa Ladas, that the neshama comes to show Haresa, to know, there's Galas neshama to come and know that Hashem Hu Elokim. He said there's two pirushim in Das, Das. One is to know, one is to break. The breaking of the shell of the nut in order to reveal the fruit. So when that happens, when the neshama convinces or persuades or inspires the Nefesh Habahamis to relate to Elokus on its terms, so it knows, it also breaks its resistance, and as a result, and this is the conclusion where the neshama itself then experiences something it could never have experienced, Lamaila. And what is that? Even the neshama gets something greater than Gan Eden, because Lamaila, the neshama was only in Gan Eden. Gan Eden, as we said, is Gimel Rishenis. It's not Atzmos. It's a high revelation, higher than all the worlds, higher than all the Malachim and Nevraim, the creatures, but it's not Atzmos. Whereas through coming down Lamata, down here, where it educates and trains and disciplines the Nefesh Habahamis to recognize God, through this the neshama comes to Riyas Malchus and Atzmos Mamish, Primis Chachmas Timha. So before that, it didn't have Primis Chachmas Timha. And that's how Pella becomes Aleph. The Pella of that Helam Ha'atzmi, this utter concealment, becomes revealed in Aleph. And not just in a way of limud and understanding, but in Riyas HaMalchus to actually see. And he concludes, that's why it says that Mashiach comes, Lo Yilamdu Isha Se'eu. One person will not teach another, because you can't teach the Malchus Etzem. You could just, either you have it or you don't have it. It's seeing the actual thing. That's a summary. So let's just read the Kitzur.
So in this case,
and all this is coming to explain, going back to the Mamutza, Sisa Pella, going back to the Mamutza, it's explaining how through Avodah we reconnect to the Maitzel. Remember, we spoke about this how God creates, so it's Keser, Primis Chachmas T'mach, Tzenis Chachmas T'chachma Gluya. Here we're talking the Avodah to go there. The Avodah is, how do we get to that Helam, how do we jump from a state of, let's say, defined state of Netzalim, spheres to the might, to the root, to the source? The answer is, as he was saying in different words before, he spoke about Kabbalah Soil, Tshuva, the Baal Tshuva, that is able to go to that level of the Helam. Now he's speaking in Leisis more through Golus and through the Nefesh Habahamis and its limitations, by explaining it, coming down and breaking and explaining it on our terms here. So it's basically the mind, Chachmas Demah, the unconscious, and the conscious mind is like, as I said, is that interface. It's the agent that travels back and forth. It brings it all the way down to Nefesh Habahamis, and then from Nefesh Habahamis it comes back to the Nefesh Elokis, all the way to the Pella above. That's really the general gist of it.
So when the shell is broken, it allows the Nefesh Elokis to go up. It's not adding the force of the Nefesh Habahamis at that time.
He's not using that expression here, no. Here he doesn't use that. Some places it says that the intensity of the Nefesh Habahamis, like he said a little earlier by Tshuva, that the Baal Tshuva, because of the hunger, the thirst, she has more intensity. We learned that in the previous Maimer. But here he doesn't mention that per se. I'm not saying it's not the case, he just doesn't say it specifically. On page 2 of Nun, he says what you just mentioned, in the context of someone running from the fire. The Meitzer Gadol brings, where was that? That was by Mashiach, brings Tshuva to everybody. That was by the end of the concept of Ketairis. That upper page Tov Nun.
And so why is it an archai? So once it succeeded in getting up to Atik, At that point, what does it have to go back down to the outward again?
Who says that's? I mean, it has to go both ways all the time because you're talking about uniting us on our parameters with that. It's not
It's
just.
done. The clip is broken. So what are you doing at that point?
Well, when Mashiach comes, the Nefesh Habahamis we will exist. We're not going to be obliterated.
Yeah.
So the Nefesh Habahamis will become like B'chol Avavcha. Both today the Nefesh Habahamis and Nefesh Elokis are at war. When the Nefesh Habahamis is acclimated and refined, it becomes joined.
I guess it still has to go down to the Rebbe.
And also
it has to go down to other Nefesh
because
Habahamis.
but I'm talking about after Mashiach comes, Dir B'Tachtenim will be here, not there.
I understand.
Atik will be down on earth.
But the answer is easier with something like the Rebbe.
You mean today? Or you mean today? Yeah, okay, fine. A Rebbe does that, but
He has to come back down.
every neshama that comes down is for that general purpose. Yeah. Okay. Let's read the Kitzur quickly and then just go on. Just go on. וזה מה שכתוב בזה כסיס אלף שפלה נעשה אל אלף. ועניין דהי נשמה היא בפנימיס הכלים. נשמה comes from פנימיס הכלים. ועל כן היא הליכוז בעצם. So it's fundamentally הליכוז. והשגה של המילה היא מחוס הליכוז. And therefore its perception is the מחוס of הליכוז. As we said, מחוס is the inner dimension. That's why its place is in Gan Eden in the level of Atzilus. The Yod Lamata, why did it come down? L'haris la Nefesh Habahamis Gili Ein Sof, to show the Nefesh Habahamis the Gili, the revelation of Ein Sof. Who Beisavas, how does it do it? Who Beisavas Hayesh Ma'ayin Aleki Shemusagam B'Nefesh Habahamis. Even the Nefesh Habahamis on the Hasag Gemuchshis. Even the Nefesh Habahamis, when the Hasag Gemuchshis in a very tangible way of understanding, can relate to the concept of that the Yesh Ma'ayin. The Yesh was created from the Ayin, conceived by the Ayin. V'chein b'chol Hasag Alekis. And the same is with every divine Hasag, every divine conception. The Moshel Gashmi, from some physical examples, when we give physical examples in this world, for Elokus, Shebe'emes HaMoshel Hu HaNimshel. So Moshel is not just an example, an external, incidental example to the nimshal, to the what it's an example for, but it's actually the nimshal as it manifests in the physical world. So that gives the Nefesh Habahamis a hasaga mukshis of a tangible conception of Elokus. So
what's the mashal in this case?
Mashal is the gashmis. If I use the example, I use water as a mashal for chesed of Atzilus, or I use an animal to show that this is like, a lion is the play.
We're not talking to the Nefesh Habahamis. We're talking about that what we're saying to the Nefesh Habahamis.
Several things. We're explaining to Nefesh Habahamis on its terms, the things that it can relate to, what Elokus is about. Why it should want Elokus. Why it should.
The Ayin Beis.
The Ayin and the Yesh. But then also the Mashal, then he also added another thing, was the Mashalim. That all the Mashalim that we use from this world to understand, from my flesh I behold God. You look at a human body, and different aspects of it reflect certain wisdom of God, the nature of God, God's personality type of thing. Or like what says that, from animals we learn, for example, tznius and stuff. That type of idea that this world is a mashal. Mm-hmm. So sun rises. Everything has its so-called spiritual counterpart. Every material thing.
The fact that we learn from a cat's tznius.
I just use that as an example.
That's an imshul.
It says Chassidus brings that.
It's the same thing.
That the animals are created. Each one has.
It says the
it is
the same as an imshul.
Because remember,
the animal reflects it the same.
Exactly. Because remember, the physical world is just an outer shell to Elokus. Yeah. So Elokus created the physical world aligned, like a parallel to how it's in Atzilus. So everything in this world has its its archetype in spirituality.
The mashal you're giving doesn't make sense. The fact that you say that everything's in parallel, then you can understand it. Once you give a mashal, it makes it worse. This case.
Well, the Rebbe has about it, especially Kuntus and Yon Shater Chassidus and other places, that this concept that the end of the day is that when Mashiach comes, everything in this physical world will remain standing. but you'll see in it the likus of it,
Yeah.
both in personality and in the energy.
You're explaining it is fine, but once you start giving mashalim, it gets worse. They're supposed to make it better.
Okay, maybe the nefesh habamis. I don't know if it's worse. I mean, you have hundreds of, like, the Rabbi brings examples from the atom and from different technologies. Actual examples from their features, how it's reflective of divine concepts in Elikus. I mean, I think it's quite beautiful, actually. If you ever hear a good example from Elam Hazar.
The example is not a mushal. I'm sure I don't see how a mushal could. The whole idea of a mushal clarifying this. I haven't seen any mushalim that's clarifying.
But it's two stages. A mushal begins as an example, but then when you understand it, really, you understand it's not just an example. It's actually that in a different dimension.
Begins as an example.
If you begin as an example, but then you come to understand. Like, for example, in the beginning you say water is an example for chesed, fire is an example for gvura. But then it says further that fire is gvura. As gvura,
Maybe that's a good one.
Ner Hashem nishmas adam. The neshama of a person is like a flame. So initially it's an example. A flame rises, a neshama rises. A flame flickers, a flame illuminates. But then you come to learn, who created the flame? God created the flame. So the flame really is essentially a neshama, a likus in a certain shape and form. Obviously it's in a lower level. Everything has its root. An apple, a tree, the diversity of nature, everything comes from a combination of the spheres. So you mix up chesed, gvura, tiferes, netzach, the right combinations, and you have all the elements that we have in this world. This is what it means, from my flesh, which means from the gashmi, erza elaka. I grasp, I perceive elikus. The benefesh habamis is b'chinas hasog chushis. The nefesh habamis, it's a tangible understanding, a perception. But the neshama is a muhus. The neshama is seeing the muhus mamash. V'zeh hareso ladas. This is, I will reveal to know what's ladas, lashon shvira, the nefesh habamis, the breaking of the nefesh habamis, shattering of the nefesh habamis. Dezem is galad yis hamuhus the neshama. Through that is revealed the yis hamuhus, the soul seeing the etzem of it, seeing the muhus, the inner dimension. And higher and even greater than the way it saw it in Gan Eden, the neshama that is, because there in Riyas Muhus Alakus, there it was just a revelation, a ha'ara, a reflection. Here it's the etzem. V'zehu, now we continue. Reish Chav Zayin. V'zehu ki ayin ba'ayin yirohu. Remember he started with that pasuk. This is the meaning of ayin ba'ayin yirohu. That an eye to eye we will see, you will see. Beis hein nayim halalu. What's ayin ba'ayin? Eye to eye.
Ayin Beis.
There you go, Ayin Beis, right? 2 ayins, good. Beis hein yonim, these 2 eyes. What are the 2 eyes that we discussed? Ha'echad ha'ayin, the mechza haguf v'nefesh habamis. Oh, this is beautiful. Ayin ba'ayin is going to be the ayin of the nefesh habamis, and the eye of the nefesh habamis, how it sees it, and the eye of the neshama, how it sees it. The first ayin, the first eye is the mechza, is the vision of the guf v'nefesh habamis that comes the first eye, that is in EYE, the ayin, is this vision of the eyes of the guf v'nefesh habamis, how it sees in a very tangible perception through the hisbonenus, through contemplating on the creation yeshmain. Similarly, that's the ayin Beis, and the second eye, Ayin Beis neshama, is the vision, is the eye and the vision of the neshama, the soul, the chinsriyas hamahus, seeing the muhus, be'muhusi v'atzmusi einsei baruch hu, seeing the muhus, the etzem of einsei baruch hu, of the divine, of the infinite light, may he be blessed. Sha'idei ha'ayin, the nefesh habamis, and they're connected. Because through the vision, through the eyes of the nefesh habamis, through the eye of the nefesh habamis, because through the seeing, through the fact that the nefesh habamis sees it, this allows the neshama to nefesh halikis to see it also. This world we're talking. Yesh leimer, one could say that the la'asid lost in the future, Mashiach times, Yeh beguf b'chinas riyas hamahus. He's adding now something. You could say that today, Taka, the Nefesh Habamis only has the Riyas Hametzias or Hasogas Hamahus, but doesn't see it like the Neshama does. But you could say when Mashiach comes, Lasid, that even the Guf will have a Riyas Hamahus, will actually see the Mahus, the inner dimension of Elokus. K'yidua shelo Asid Yeh Haguf b'chinas Erein Sov HaSeviv. As it's known that Lasid, the Guf, will be on the level, the revelation of the source of Erein Sov Seviv Kalamin, the Seviv, not Mamala. By Neshama to Kabul Ma'guf, and Neshama will receive from the Guf, will be nourished from the Guf. This we learned in different places. Im Kain, so based on this, you have to say that the Guf will also have the Riyas HaMuhus, because the Guf will be so refined that it'll be connected to the Seviv, and it will not only that, it will actually be nourishing the Neshama, and the Neshama has Riyas HaMuhus, so you have to say that also the Guf will have Riyas HaMuhus. That's his proof. Yesh Leimer, and you can say, according to what it says in another place, the Riyah Chushis had a Zelamayla Meriyas HaSeichel. The Riyah Chushis, to see something tangibly, is greater than to see it with your mind. You know, with seeing with your mind, you say, Ezo Chacham Areis Anel, you say, Chacham Einav Bereisha, you say, a wise person also sees. Wisdom is seeing, it's clarity. But still, the clarity of seeing something with your mind, in other words, understanding it well, in some ways, it says, like he says in some places, in other places it says, to actually see something tangibly is is higher than that. And to see something with tangibly is only shaykh, it's only possible, it's only applicable to Guf and Nefesh Habamis, because they are tangible entities that relate to the tangible world. And the divine soul will receive this type of perception from the Nefesh Habamis. After Nefesh Habamis is Mizbarer, is refined, and Mizdachich, Mizbarer is cleansed, I guess. Mizbarer, Mizdachich, refined. That it should have this type of tangible perception. So he's adding here like this, in other words. First we begin, the Neshama has Riyas HaMuhus. The Nefesh Habamis and Guf could only relate to things in a tangible way, but it can't actually see Elokus. But once the Nefesh Habamis is so refined, in Mashiach's times, L'Asilave, and it becomes completely transparent to its source in Elokus, to the point that it actually will nourish the Neshama, so Nefesh Habamis, number one, will have Riyas HaMuhus, number two, will have it in a way that's even deeper than the Neshamas. Why? Because the Neshama doesn't relate to tangible things. A Neshama, it's enough to see it in a spiritual way. And a Nefesh Habamis relates to tangible things, and in some ways, it says in another place, seeing something with your physical eyes.
Elokus is a tangible thing. What does that mean? You can also say to
Hold on. 1 second.
Well, that was 5 lines ago, and I held my breath until you repeated it.
Okay, we'll give you a medal. 1 second. I'm just talking it out. I'm trying to, that's what I mean. So now he's saying that Nefesh Habamis and the Guf and Nefesh Habamis have Riyah Chushis. They see things in a tangible way. They relate to tangible. And it says in another place that the tangible seeing something is even greater than seeing it with Seichel. So after the Nefesh Habamis, through the Nefesh Elokis refines, through educating and through refining the Nefesh Habamis. So this Nefesh Habamis will also transmit and give, and the Nefesh Elokis will receive this type of mukhshis. How would I explain it? He doesn't explain it more than what I just read. Look, in different places it says the different things that the Nefesh Habamis will contribute back to the Neshama. There's different mahalas. We're talking about what he says here. After all is said and done, the Neshama is more like Oir, and the nefesh habamis and guf is more like the keli, obviously. And in the sheirish and yanim, the neshama goes all the way back to elokus, but a neshama does not have the power of a yesh. It never becomes a yesh. I mean, even though it does say neshama is elokus becomes yesh, but it's relative to neshama level still. When neshama comes into guf and nefesh habamis, yeah. So when a nefesh habamis comes into guf and nefesh habamis, a few things happen. First, on the negative side, it's concealed. Neshama gets concealed here. It's trapped. In Gan Eden, it learns Torah all day. It doesn't have to deal with a guf. It doesn't have to deal with the challenges of a guf. Okay. So, like he says in Tanya, that even the greatest tzaddik, Ava V'yira down here is never as pure as it is L'mayla and Atzilus, because everyone is compromised in some way initially when you come into this world. Okay. But then begins the Avodah. I'm talking the Avodah of this. Now, once there's the Avodah, remember the Guf and Nefesh Habamis has a Sheirish, as we say, that's even higher than the Neshama. That's why Neshama is compelled to come down, because it knows that. And in this ACC he says here, the Guf and Nefesh Habamis comes from Sev of Kalalman. The Nefesh of the Neshama comes from Amala, but the deepest levels, but it's still some form of revealed godliness. The fact that the Yesh, he doesn't say this here, but in Tanya he says, who can create the Yesh? Only Atzmus. So the Yesh has in itself the Keich Atzmus like nothing has. Not Atzilus, not Bria, nothing. And it has really the Nesava of Atzmus is Dafka in the Yesh. So the Neshama is the tool, obviously, and is the key, because the Neshama is the one that refines the Yesh. The Yesh is nothing on its own. It's like a blind, raw piece of matter put here by Atzmus without any gili. So now begins the process. The Neshama starts working with its raw matter, which its root, the Etzem, the Helam Atzmi, is in the deepest levels. So once the Neshama works, refines it, like he's just gave us the process, by teaching it, by educating it, by sublimating it, by seducing it, whatever, convincing it, and the Nefesh Habamis begins to appreciate. I'm not talking about what Nefesh Habamis doesn't begin to, and the resistance. We're talking the Nefesh Habamis is beginning to appreciate and starts relating to Elokus on its terms. So clearly its terms are still inferior to Neshama's terms, as he said, Neshama. But then comes a point, and this is the end of the process when Mashiach comes, where it finally finishes. The Neshama has completely refined the body. Mashiach is now here. So what will the bodies be doing? What does Neshama need bodies for? Like the Rambam says, let's just be Neshamas without bodies. It did its job. But the kavanah is in the body, because the body has something to add even to the neshama. So it's true the neshama has succeeded in breaking the klippa, the resistance. It's succeeded in educating the yesh to relate to Elokus. But now comes the final process where the guf starts giving something back. And what does it give back? It reveals the yesh, the power of a yesh, of yesh amiti, into even the neshama. What is the power? So I've said before, there's different explanations. Here he's just saying an interesting thing. He's saying, yes, there is the fact that God created not just Ruchnius, but a Gashmisdika world. So it's true, we don't see its connection, but there's something about Gashmis that can only come from Atzmus, something tangible about it. That tangible element, which once was maybe a Helam, is now a virtue. Because the fact of the matter is, let's be like this, let's say you're the smartest person on earth, and you figured something out, but when you actually see it, it adds something, even to someone who's figured it out. I remember the Rebbe once saying about Yisrei. He speaks about Enodei Mishmiel Riyah. There's an expression that seeing is more than hearing. And the Rebbe said the proof is brought not from an idiot, it's brought from a chacham. Because a person who's figured it out with his mind, and even a person like that still says that when I see it, it's more real than when I perceived it, that means that physical seeing something is greater than that. In other words, when the Rebbe, let me put it this way. Maybe this explains something. That's not even what we're talking about. Hold on a second. A Rebbe could sit in his room and also see everything in the world. But nevertheless, people come and he sees it with his own eyes. You could say, why wasn't it enough that he saw it Baruch? Because there's something about tangible seeing that even in Gedusha it adds. Look, maybe it explains why the Rebbe had to go to the oil. Why couldn't he sit in his room and connect? Or you have to physically be. I mean, I don't mean that he has to see the tombstone, God forbid. But I mean to say that that's what I'm trying to say. It's not just the Jews went aliyah l'regel. They didn't just stay in their city. They went to the Beis Hamikdash to be seen and to see and to be seen. So he's adding that tangible sight adds some type of emes, even to the deepest perception of the neshama. I mean, I'm just elaborating. I think it's connected to the tangible of the yesh.
Yeah, but he said that to be able to be, because what was it? He just said something from a yes could see better, body, goof could see better.
He says tangible seeing. He said, it says in one place, to see something tangibly is higher than seeing it with the seichel, which means seeing it spiritually.
He just said it because you're seeing. It's like you're seeing something tangible, and therefore you can see with your tangible being. And I guess it's because the real, it's not, when we think of God, we think of like a spiritual thing, but it's a real created, it's a real, I don't want to say yesh, but it's a yesh.
No, that's you're saying exactly, that's what he says in Tanya.
Yesh to yesh.
Exactly, there's two parts. Generally speaking, you speak about godliness in a very ethereal and spiritual, untangible way. Right. But when you speak about Atzmus, we say he's not even limited in being intangible.
It's like two yeshus seeing
right. No, exactly.
They're on the same part.
Yeah, it says about the Chassidus, it says about the Chedesh Tevis, Guf Nenem and Naguf.
Okay.
The body. Anyway, to continue on, to some extent, right? No, it still needs to be. Okay, fine. And all this is through the level of Chachmas Tima. Chachmas Tima is not going away so fast, so it always comes back to that. Shehi b'chinas Chachma v'yediyah. This is the guy kept saying, yeah, that's correct. Because Chachmas Tima is Chachma v'yediyah. It's called Chachma. It's hidden Chachma, concealed Chachma. But it's a Chachma v'yediyah. It's wisdom and knowing. It's perceiving. As opposed to, for example, just plain rotzen or something like that. Nevertheless, it's called Chachmas Tima because it's the atzmus of Ein Sof, the essence of Ein Sof, the inner dimension of Atik. And because it's a level of it's a cover in which Atik conceals itself, as we learned. And it's a concealment that's just a helam atzmiya, an essential concealment, meaning fundamentally always concealed. That's why from this we have the helam, the concealment down below, including golos, the gevura. The ma'atik atzmai liyasheinu b'chinas helam kol kach. He's summing up what he said earlier. That from Atik itself, since Atik there's not so much concealment, Commission is brought El Perikuf Tzadik Beis, like we learned earlier in chapter 192. Ef Shaliz B'chinas Helam Kazeh. Atik itself, because it has no kelim and has no real manifestation, it's altogether just a complete state beyond, removed completely. So you cannot create, develop into a Helam, like the Helam we have in Golos, for example. Ki'im, so who creates this Helam? How does this Helam come? It's when Atik becomes Chachmas Tima, so b'chinas Kisu la'Atik, which is a cover for Atik, shebezem esalim, in which it becomes concealed. And this concealment is a fundamental concealment, as explained in chapter 224.
It's very interesting. Before we were learning that we were trying to relate how Tanya is Chachma, but actually the Chachma itself.
It's both things. Tanya is Chachma, but in a form of hiding. But as you said, not hiding like a lavush outside.
Right.
It's a type of.
Complete.
Yeah, the way he put it was that's a helama atzmi completely. Yeah.
There you go.
That's okay. So let me just finish the sentence. Mized dafke b'chinas helam shalamata. And from this comes the helam lamata down below, the concealment. They aveda by helam azeh boim lebchinas primis ve'atzmus chachmas tima. And from this helam we come to the primis atzmus chachmas tima, because it's rooted there. So we get back to there.
sort of a repeat of what he was saying.
He's summing up because he's including this minor. I'm going to continue here a bit. You have a few more minutes? Huh? It's your schedule. If not, I'll stop it.
15 minutes?
Okay.
Watch it on it'll be on.
Yeah. We'll sum it up anyway. So tomorrow we're not doing. What do we do?
I don't want to screw it up for everybody else, but I don't want to come.
Okay.
Should I tell people you can have it or not, sir? What do I tell people?
If nobody comes, there's no point to having it. I mean, I don't know.
I'm
not a Rov here. I don't pass them really. So whatever the Rabbanim say.
You used to learn for you used to
I
learn
don't
every year.
I'd give a shear definitely. You know, it's one thing you do privately. It's another thing you do with a shear. You know.
Plus, if there's things you can learn. I mean, different my mom that had ever pointed out. I think that I've even listed a bunch of my mom you can learn, not from the Mitler Rebbe, that had to do with stuff.
There's Mamorim on Eicha, you know. There's Mamorim.
I don't know. It's something you can't learn. But, if they ever went to the trouble to point it out, it seems like stuff that you should learn that to the exclusion of other things that you're not allowed to learn. Makes sense, doesn't it? Otherwise, why would you bother pointing it out?
Fine. I'm not disputing it. I have a powerful Tisha B'Av.
Should have a Kiddush tonight. Listen, I guess some of those ladies will be making Kiddush. I envy them.
I don't envy them, but I'm going
You
to be more hungry than they are.
It's like, you know something? They have a robe that tells them it's okay to do it.
They actually have some.
Yeah, I heard they do. Yeah, and that's it.
That part I didn't hear. I heard
they have a robe.
Is there a name for this Rav?
I don't know.
It's an anonymous Rav?
I don't know if it's not out there because they're hiding, protecting, or I just don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I never heard of a Rav concealing his psaks. I mean, if he holds by it, let him say it with his sources. Like every Rav, paskin something. It can't be a secret psak.
No. Listen, if you're a tzaddik and you're not afraid of anything, at the Rambam, a normal guy publishes more than you would think that maybe it would hamper his chance to be a tourist in France. You know?
Okay.
Like a tourist in France because they burnt this form there for the Rambam. So the Rambam's a tzaddik, he's going to do it. A regular Rav, which possibly it's not such there's another braveness of a Rambam. So he's going to possibly he's going to be lynched. So that's the difference.
Okay, so let me continue. You will.
Have a good day. You will. You be fast.
Okay.
No fast. Kiddush.
Okay. This is the meaning that through the mamutza of Chachmas Tema, mamutza the Chachmas Tema. Dafka through the mamutza, through the interface of Chachmas Tema, boim hanashamis, the neshamas come v'chein hanatzalim b'chinas elyein sheba mamutza. And this is what it means that the interface of the Chachmas Tema, through the interface of the Chachmas Tema, the neshamas and also the natzalim. We're talking about the neshamas and the natzalim, which are the spheres of Atzilus, reach the higher level of the mamutza. Remember, mamutza has two parts, the lower and the higher. This is the way it reaches into the higher, through the helam, it comes back to the pella, the helam of Chachmas Tema.
How do you get natzalim?
Because natzalim start with chachma.
Yeah, but how do they?
Chachma gluya, the revealed chachma.
No, in other words, the question is, neshamas have a voda. Natzalim don't have a voda.
Who said that? They do have a voda. They also, when you do avodah, you're being mevarer you're elevating the spheres. Remember, we said
the neshama takes that with him also.
I don't know if it's the neshama. He's not saying that specifically. Could be that way, but remember, we also said Elikai, when he started the whole pasuk. Remember, he said that the beginning of the pasuk was Vaya Elikai Ata Rememcha Oida Shimcha. He's Kasisapella. That the three levels of the spheres they all got elevated into the level of Kesser. The Pashtus is through the Aveda of our Aveda. The bottom line is yes, Aveda elevates both the Neshamas and the Netzalim into the higher part of the interface, the Mamutza.
So even there,
and remember, this is the whole discussion is about this. You remember? As I mentioned to you, this pasuk right here, we started here. The beginning of the pasuk, remember, the whole point is, he says the lashon is that Hashem Elokei goes on the spheres, and Rememcha means l'reimam, to elevate the whole ishtalshus into keser. Even Chachma needs to be elevated. Yes, through the Aveda. That's through Aveda. Our Aveda, we do that. Okay. By Dezeh Boim Gamken the B'chinas Atzmus Ein Sof, Shelamaylam B'chinas Mamutza, and through this we come even to Atzmus Ein Sof, which is higher than the Mamutza. V'kumay Shekasav V'lo Yelamdu, like we said earlier, that when Mashiach comes, one won't teach the other. Ki Kulam Yedu Eisi, everyone will know me. What's Eisi? Eisi Mamish. Mamish me. Like it says by Truma, Truma, Eisi Atam Lechem. You take Yichuli, not just you shall bring to me, you bring me, because Eisi, you are Lechem, you grasp all of me, Eisi. And the truth of this, the ultimate fulfillment and realization of this will be Lasid Lavi. For Inyan, the Inyan in this is the Niksiv Ben Peris Yesef Ben Peris Alay Ayin. It says Ben Peris Yesef Ben Peris Alay Ayin. Mavur b'Mokam Acher Ben Peris Yesef. Peris Alay Ayin. Alay Ayin is the eyes. Okay. Mavur b'Mokam Acher l'Koyal Azman Yemesa Mashiach. Somewhere else it explains that this goes on Yemesa Mashiach with Chis HaMesim. The Mashkos ben Peris Yesef Koyal's Mani Mesa Mashiach. The first half of the pasuk being Peris Yesef goes on the time of Mesa Mashiach. She bechinas teisvus v'ribo shayidei abirudim kanal. Then we'll have an intense and a multitude of ribo of much light, which comes through the birudim, the refinements that have been mevarer elam hazeh. Ben Peris Ela Ayin, the second half of the pasuk, the Ayin goes on Zman of the Koyal Zman Chis HaMesim. The Ein Deimelachat Chis HaMesim, which is higher than the Mesa Mashiach. Ein Deimelachat, as we say. Ein Arechach, Ein Deimelachat. Nothing can be compared to it. This goes on Chis HaMesim, the Chis HaMesim, Ein Deimelachat Chis HaMesim. Shisal B'chins Atzmus Mamash. That's a higher level. It's not just the Bedurim, the light, the energies that come through Bedurim, but you'll elevate Mamash to Atzmus.
This is higher than Hafs.
He didn't say that yet, but we'll see. Behind alay ayin, l'mayla gam b'chinas ayin ba'ayin. That means alay ayin, above the eye. And Pedus alay ayin, above the eye. So ayin, so this is Chis HaMesim. V'yil Mesa Mashiach yi ayin ki ayin ba'ayin kana. By Mesa Mashiach you'll have ayin ba'ayin, as we said. What's ayin ba'ayin? The ayin of the nefesh abamis, ayin of the nefesh alakis, and all that comes through that type of perception, tangible, and so on. And by Chis HaMesim will be higher than the ayin. Yesh lemer inyan alei ayin, hu inyan hasoga. We can say that alei ayin is the inyan of hasoga, perception. V'ayin mashakosev haponim yofis b'pirush alei ayin, looking ponim yofis. He interprets alei ayin al derech chacham adaf menovi. Alei ayin is like a wise person, meaning who's greater than a novi, a prophet. Because a prophet sees, but a chacham understands.
Yeah.
So see here that alei ayin is hasoga. Dehine hasoga the achshav. Hasoga, today's perception, understanding is bechinas mitzias levad. It's only the mitzias. We only know the outer, that it exists. The Mahus Adova in Shayach Hasoga. In what makes it tick and what's going on inside, the Mahus of it is not Shayach Hasoga. We're not capable. It's not capable to have perception. Kim Riyah. You can only see it, but not Hasoga. You can't appreciate it in type of, understanding it like Chachma.
No, Bina can't take Malchus.
Okay, do I have to be real Lishmiya? Like it's known the difference between seeing and hearing. Yeah. In other words, you can hear it, but you can't see it. Or no, the opposite. You can see it, but not understand and appreciate it. Achasoga. This is today. Achasoga de la'asid, but the perception la'asid will be in the future. Yudua sheti hasoga samahus mamish. Then we will actually be able to have hasoga samahus mamish, not just in mitzias. Every form will know that you formed it. And will understand the dafka in a way of hasaga, not just knowing that it's that way, actually internalizing it in an understanding way. And the hasaga will be that you shaped it in a level that you'll relate to the muhus of it. Chachma and Bina, both of them are rooted in Chachmas Temal. In the outer dimension of Chachmas Temal is a perception only on the Metzias. Only the Metzias.
They have both. We give them both Makor in
Chachmas Temal.
Chachma and Bina, both of them.
The inner unconscious Chachma.
Inner, okay.
Yeah, that.
First level, okay.
Now the Chayin is Chachmas Temal. The outer Chachmas Temal, who Shasog B'chinas Metzias Levad. That the Hasaga is only in knowing that it exists. Metzias. V'rak Riyah hi b'chinas Muhus. And only Riyah can relate to the Muhus. Ava b'chinas Pnimis Chachmas Tema, but the inner dimension of Chachmas Tema, Sham Gam Hasagi b'chinas Atzmus Muhus Adavar. There, even perception, even understanding is also in the Atzmus Muhus Adavar. The Riyah Shabachlos b'chinas Chachmas Tema b'chinas Atzmus Adavar. Because since the Primis Chachmas Tema, the inner Chachmas Tema, is in the essence of the thing, Gam Hasaga L'Shem B'chinas Hasaga Samuhus. Because remember we said the Primis Chachmas Tema is like Atik. It's the pleasure that comes into wisdom. So therefore also the Hasaga Dam is in a form of Hasaga Samuhus. V'achshav Ein Anu Yedim Eichu Hasaga Samuhus. Today we don't really know, we don't know how will we have such a type of understanding. We can even relate to that type of perception. It'll be completely new. It'll be a new experience. Like the only thing is we have a similar comparison. We can get some sense of it, some image, some picture of it when we understand the hasaga, let's say, of the Nefesh Habamis that has some tangible. But that tangible reality in Ruchnis we don't really relate to. This is the meaning Aleyayin, higher than the eye. Because there's a mile in Hasaga over seeing, there's a mile in understanding over just seeing something. Because when you understand it, you grasp it in Primis more than just seeing something. You could see something and not really understand it. Because so when Hasaga is only in the Metzias, then even though Riyah does not have the same Pnimius as our understanding, but Riyah is, because it sees the Muhus Adavar, the thing itself, it's higher than Hasaga. But La'asad Lavei, Ach Kasha Gam Hasaga Ti B'Muhus Adavar, but once understanding Hasaga will be in the Muhus, Ti L'mayla B'chinas Riyah, it will be higher than Riyah. V'zeh Alei Ayin L'mayla B'chinas Ayin. And that's what means that it's higher than the ayin. Let me just go back a second. Wow. Aha. That's what means higher than the eye.
Ayin Shabbayin. Ayin B'ayin. That is real.
Yeah, because it has both miles then. Hasog is both B'Primius. And it also, you're understanding the Muhus. It's like Hasog will have both advantages. Yeah. This is that will be the time of Tchis HaMesim, and nothing in Demilcha, nothing compares to that. The Commission Kosov, like we say in davening, in Demilcha,
Yeah, Shabbos.
yeah. Commission Kosov v'nichya lefonov, and I will v'nichya, and we will live. We'll have chayes lefonov mamish primius of you lefonov. Shetzia sog b'chinas muhus atzmuse is baruch. So nichya lefonov doesn't just mean before you; it means lefonov within the primius of you. Shetzia sog b'chinas muhus atzmuse. Ken neshamas you b'chinas atzmis v'asogetia atzmis, because the neshamas will be atzmim, will be there. He says the atzmis will be revealed, and asoge will also be an atzmis, as he's saying here. We will not just understand external, the mutzias will also understand the muhus. And this is what it means that the neshamas will elevate, and they will to the level. They will be on the level of the higher level of the interface, and that's atzmus chachmas tema. And its first root, it's the level of helam atzmi, utter concealment. That which means how atzmus carries everything within himself.
Is that the standard definition of helam atzmi?
I don't know. It's a good question. But it basically is referring to atzmus that has everything within him, but it's not in a revealed state. It's like saying he has all the shleimus within him, but it's not in any expressed way. He's saying that's the root of primis chachmas tema, which is the first time he's actually saying that. Because till now, primis chachmas tema, he spoke about atik. Now he's going all the way into atzmus, so it's a very high level. So basically, that when you reach the primis of the unconscious, you're actually reaching the primis of atzmus, which is helam atzmi. Atzmus carries everything. That's very interesting. I have some things to say about this. I think it's like the unconscious. Remember, the unconscious has the potential for all types of ideas, but they're not in any shape and form yet. But it's like a reservoir that is like a wellspring, a source of things, because which in a way reflects atzmus is neisa hakel, and that type of abstract state is the higher level of the mutza that gets revealed through the process that we're learning here.
Okay. I mean, that's much higher than atik. That's mamish, way above.
Well, that's what he says with b'shoshe, yeah. Well, listen, on a gradation level, it's atik, but b'shoshe, you go all the way to the root. It's all the way up there.
That's how much.
But that's the parenthesis. V'ti asoga b'musa etzmusa ensof, and the asoga will be mamish musa etzmusa ensof. V'hainu achash yisal be mesa mashiach b'chinas primis v'atzmus chachmas tema. That means that after we will elevate in Mesa Mashiach to the primis atzmis, the inner and the etzem of chachmas tema. Sheti asoga b'chinas asoga samuhus, the b'chinas primis chachmas tema. And asoga, perception will be the perception of the muhus in the inner dimension of chachmas tema. Yisalu, then you go even to a higher level. Yisalu b'chis hamesim sheti asoga b'chinas muhusa v'atzmusa enseif. From there we will go to tchis hamesim. We will be the muhusa, the asoga muhusa v'atzmusa enseif. So now he's interpreting Yemesa Mashiach. He's interpreting Yemesa Mashiach. I thought Tchis HaMesim was the higher Mamutza.
I think so.
Okay, no, he did say that. It's true. Yemesa Mashiach is reaching the premise of Chachmas Tema. Tchis HaMesim reaches Atzmos, that's even higher than that.
Yeah.
Okay, he said that before too, yeah. Nothing compares to you, l'cha, mamish to you. It's known that asoga is the level of yesh, because asoga has an element of tangibility, as opposed to that's what I said earlier. So la'asid, this yesh of asoga will be the b'china of yesh amiti, of atzmus ensof. Yesh leim deriyah ki b'chinas ayin amiti. So seeing is the ayin amiti, because seeing is much more ethereal.
Even in that stage.
Ayin v'asoga b'chinas yesh amiti. V'gam b'chinas riyah chushis shenis bar lo yesh leim shetiyah b'tchis hamisim dafka. And also what we discussed earlier, that Riyah will be seeing the tangible, as we discussed earlier, Yeshlem, we could say that also will be in Tchis HaMesim.
It's how it goes.
So in other words, Riyah will be seeing the tangible. Hasaga will be in the Mohus. In other words, we're going to have everything basically. But Kol Zehu the Aveda the Achshav, and all this is through the Aveda today. In the levels of Helam, and receive from our flesh we perceive. In our understanding, in a perception that's tangible. Through our work today, in the level of the Helam, and perceiving it from our basar, from our flesh, from our gashmis, we'll come to the Hasagas HaMohus. And this is the meaning that Chacham Stamo is the primary interface. Through which there can be the connection of the Netzalim and the Neshamas, of the emanations and the souls, with the root, with the source, the Maitzel, that they should be able to reach the higher level of the interface, and through that they come to Atzmus, which is higher even than the higher level of the Mamutza, Hasagas HaMahus. So he's saying something is fascinating here. I have to analyze it a bit. On one hand, Hasaga is deeper than Riyah, than seeing. So today, the Nefesh HaBamis has Hasaga Mukhshis because it has also a tangible thing. Riyah, on the other hand, is higher because it can see something even if you don't understand it. And also, two things will happen. The Hasaga will be in the Mukhus, not just the Metzias. And the Riyah will not just be ethereal, it will also be Riyah's Mukhshis from the Nefesh HaBamis. So everything will, but ultimately Riyah and Hasaga, Riyah is more the Ayin, is more Ruchnis, Hasaga is more Yesh, as you just said, and the Nefesh HaBamis adds the Hasaga element and the Riyah Gashmis element. The Neshama has the Muhus element and the Riyah Ruchnis element, and they'll both be joined. Basically, is what he's saying.
Say the last part again. Just repeat them.
The Neshama is the Muhus of things, and more Ruchnisdik. It doesn't have it tangibly. The Nefesh HaBamis has things more tangibly and in a more perceptive way, more Hasaga. That's what more or less is saying.
It'll keep that. The Nefesh HaBamis.
So each one will contribute. Yeah. So the Asadavi, the Guf Nefesh HaBamis, because of its tangible Hasaga, once that becomes Hasaga Muhus, it allows the Neshama to have a tangible sense also, which means the Riyah of the Neshama, which is usually Ruchnis, also has a tangible element.
So again,
so both come together. Yeah.
It becomes one thing. Or is it?
Yeah. So we'll stop here.
Yeah.
What were you asking?
Is there a higher aspect, or they'll both just be a full integration?
It's full integration, but it always goes higher. There's, as he said, the Mashiach, Tchis HaMesim, the levels.
I'm saying in the group and the Neshama will be fully integrated, or each one will have.
They still remain two distinct entities, but they'll be joined where they both continuously contribute to each other. It's like the Eir and the Yesh, constantly joined.
So
like in Elikus itself, there is the Eiris and Kalim, or on the root it's Eir and Yesh. That they'll constantly be a dual process. It's just on the higher levels.
So the Neshama will constantly contribute the Mahus.
Well, always. The Neshama is ultimately the captain of the ship, the driving force. The Guf is where it plays itself out. So even when the Guf nourishes the Neshama, it's still a Neshama. It still has a chelik elokam mamash, except the Guf is now giving it things from Etzem that the Neshama doesn't have in a revealed way on its own.
No kidding.
So it's like the Guf. It's like eating food.
Yeah.
When we eat food gives us strength, but that food doesn't become superior to us. But food has, because it has in the shaders, the sparks within the food are higher than the sparks within our souls. So the food can sustain. But you don't say suddenly that the food becomes the neshama. The food does not become superior to a Jew doing a mitzvah. But the food has a power to give something to the neshama, because it comes. So it's a symbiotic relationship where Gashmis feeds the neshama something from Atzmus. The neshama obviously reveals it, and the neshama is the one ultimately that is the running the show, so to speak. The neshama is the one that taught the Nefesh HaBamis, because even the power of the Yesh Chassidus says comes from the Oyer. So even the neshama reveals, like you have to be the one that takes food and makes a bracha on it and puts in your mouth. The food's not going to walk into your mouth. Understand? So the neshama is really directing the food, but it reaches out to this world and refines it, and in return gets a nourishment because the gashmis really is coming from atzmos. That's the story. So we stop here. What chapter did we do? Page Reish Chav Zayin. Okay, so we're at the summing up the Maimer then.
What will we
Last
do
piece.
after that?
Huh?
What will we do after that?
We'll continue. Unless, I have no problem starting from the beginning,